Washington.
Baghdad's rejection of the Bush ultimatum means a ground war could start at any moment. This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. Everything apparently is in place tonight for a ground war of epic proportion in the Persian Gulf. David Martin, our Pentagon correspondent, reports the president has already given commanders in the field the authority they need to move into Iraq and Kuwait. Let's go to David now for the details. David?
Bob, even before the noon deadline expired, President Bush had issued the order to launch a ground offensive if Iraq failed to comply with the terms of his ultimatum for an immediate and unconditional withdrawal from Kuwait. Now that the deadline has expired, the timing of the offensive is up to General Norman Schwarzkopf, the commander in the field. And that means it could come literally at any moment.
What would affect the timing?
A number of things, from the readiness of Allied forces to the state of the Iraqi army down to the weather. Today, the Central Command issued new estimates of the number of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and artillery that have been destroyed by the past 38 days of bombing. And taken together, they show that about 40% of the Iraqi armored forces in the Kuwaiti theater have been destroyed. Now we have these reports that Iraq has started a scorched earth campaign, setting oil wells on fire and executing civilians. And that has got to lend a new urgency to the liberation of Kuwait. Before, the longer Schwarzkopf waited, the more time there was for the Allied air forces to bomb the Iraqi army into submission. Now, the longer Schwarzkopf waits, the less there will be to liberate.
And David, I want to make sure we're absolutely clear about what you're saying. You're saying now that a ground war is inevitable?
It is inevitable. The commander-in-chief always has the authority, if something extraordinary happens, to rescind that order. But the order has gone out, and it is now a matter of timing.
All right. Thank you, David. Before and after the deadline, the Soviet Union tried today to reconcile U.S. and Soviet conditions for a peaceful end to the crisis. Wyatt Andrews is at the White House now with more on that. Wyatt?
Bob, the president today brushed aside a personal appeal from Mikhail Gorbachev and stuck to the United States' drop-dead ultimatum for Saddam Hussein to leave Kuwait by noon today. And while the White House is trying to keep secret the exact timing of the ground war, certainly to keep up the pressure, a White House official said flatly today that a ground offensive could begin at any time.
Right at the noon deadline, the Soviets at the United Nations tried to broker a deal for the Iraqis by claiming Iraq's foreign minister had reacted positively to the American demands. But when that went nowhere, the White House reacted vehemently, saying Iraq had shown no military activity which would indicate any withdrawal of troops, and no communication that would suggest a willingness to withdraw. Saddam's only response at noon, the White House said, was to launch another Scud at Israel. Just like yesterday, the president, who is now at Camp David, took a lengthy phone call from Mikhail Gorbachev, but turned down Gorbachev's appeal to delay the ground war in the hopes the Iraqis might come around. No hard feelings here, Gorbachev's spokesman seemed to say. The Soviets will not burn relations with the U.S. over Saddam.
The sweet words of diplomacy, though, covered up what actually became something of a telephone war between President Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev, in which Gorbachev tried to sell the Soviet peace plan to the coalition allies and lost. That the Soviets are for now, though, apparently losing this showdown gracefully gives the president's ultimatum unprecedented political force. Bob?
Thank you, Wyatt. CBS News correspondent Betsy Aaron was in Baghdad today during one of the heaviest air bombardments of the war. Just a short time ago, with an Iraqi censor at her side, Betsy described for us the scene.
There was a very heavy bombardment as the deadline came. In fact, the bombardment started before the deadline came. Very, very heavy. First sirens, and then you saw tracers, and then you heard bombs very close to where we are. And then it stopped. And right now it's pretty quiet.
Do you have any idea, Betsy, what the targets were?
Absolutely not, Bob. Absolutely not. I wouldn't even hazard a guess sitting here in this place.
How far from you was this bombardment?
I would say close enough to be very uncomfortable.
Do you have sensors there with you as you make this report, Betsy?
Yes, I do, Bob.
What other information can you give us?
Well, the Revolution Command Council met this evening, and what they're telling everybody is that they accept the Soviet plan. The Soviet plan is a 21-day withdrawal plan. They can't understand why they're being asked to withdraw in 7 days. They say an army can't withdraw in 7 days, and what the people on the street are saying is, why don't you keep negotiating? We don't want a war.
Betsy Aaron, just a while ago. A British journalist who just left Baghdad told today of reports of violent anti-Saddam protests in Basra, Iraq's second largest city. He also told of hearing reliable reports of family members ripping flags from the coffins of Iraqi soldiers who have been killed in the war. Most Americans were probably prepared for the news that Baghdad had rejected the U.S. ultimatum, but that did not make it any easier to take. Gary Reeves now with that.
As the nation waited and hoped for peace, the deadline passed and the war raged on.
I was hoping he'd pull out, that they would show signs of the men coming out, but it doesn't appear that there was any. In fact, he just hit Israel with another Scud missile.
In living rooms and dens, families watched and wondered how long before their sons and daughters see combat. In Denver, a mother prays for further delays.
Once they start fighting, there's going to be lives lost. At least if they're sitting and waiting, at least nobody's dying yet.
But in suburban Atlanta, Billy Hunter buried his disappointment by doing chores. On his wrist, a POW bracelet, a reminder of his Marine brother, captured in Kuwait on the war's first day. A negotiated peace could bring Guy Hunter home soon. Billy Hunter wants to make sure his sacrifice has not been wasted.
We sent our people over here to do a job, and we need to do the job before they come home.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies.
In Nashville, patriotic supporters turned to music. But there was no singing in the Awals home. These Palestinians who moved to Detroit to escape war have a son-in-law on the front lines. They wonder how much longer this promised short war will last.
No, it's 24 days, 25 days. We're not in and out, and there has been promised more. When does it stop?
It's the question everyone keeps asking. At noon today, the world moved a step closer to the answer. Gary Reeves, CBS News, Atlanta.
And coming up next on the CBS Evening News, correspondent Dan Rather will join us live from Saudi Arabia, and later General George Christ is going to give us a rare look at Saddam Hussein's army in action.
Your high-fiber cereal
tastes like a high-fiber cereal.
But my high-fiber cereal is different.
Why? Because it comes in a big red box?
No, because it's delicious.
Really?
It's the only one with this delicious combination of raisins, dates, nuts, and crunchy clusters.
Keeps sounding better and better.
And crispy high-fiber bran flakes.
That makes it perfect.
That makes it fruit and fiber.
And that makes fruit and fiber my high-fiber cereal.
Post fruit and fiber cereal.
Delicious.
Why would you want your fiber any other way?
Recognize that skyline? There's only one place in the world looks like that. Manhattan. Where the air's clean, the living's easy, and the food's great. Every time I'm in Manhattan, I order my personal favorite, the New York Strip. Delicious. Manhattan's known for its famous restaurants, so be sure to try all three. Beef, real food, Manhattan, Montana.
I'm a year old today.
I just turned 7.
I'm 1. On the day these people had their heart attacks, they started life over again. Now they eat a diet low in cholesterol and saturated fat that can actually help lower their cholesterol and risk of heart disease. Fleischmann's margarine is playing a part in that. Fleischmann's has 0 cholesterol, low saturated fat. Diet can help add years to your life. Will it take a heart attack to change yours? Fleischmann's margarine. Many happy returns.
Kuwaitis who have been able to call out from their occupied homeland report tonight huge explosions in Kuwait City. One caller says the Iraqis appear to be blowing up installations all over the city. Every hour that passes beyond today's noon deadline pushes Allied forces that much closer to the ground war almost everyone is now expecting. Dan Rather's in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia tonight, heading up our coverage, of course. We want to go now to him. Dan?
Bob, good evening. advanced elements of the U.S. and Allied military are already in Iraq and Kuwait. It's important to know that tanks, artillery, and napalming planes all are part of that cross-border combat. In the military, they call it leaning forward. The U.S. forces that are not already in Iraq and Kuwait are pushing right up against the borders of those two countries. A U.S. Marine patrol destroyed 4 Iraqi tanks and took 143 prisoners today. In the air war, as you can hear, the drone of planes is almost constant. The planes flew a record 1,200 sorties over Kuwait alone today in what everyone expects is a preliminary to the land war. Eric Ingberg has more about this day on the battlefield.
Along the borders where the American invasion force is massed on its starting line for land war, there was neither surprise nor doubt among the troops that everything had finally come down to their level.
Everything is in place, and it's hammer time.
Many soldiers found it a good time to write letters to parents and other loved ones.
I don't want to wait till the last minute. Of course, too late to say my goodbyes or say the things you always want to say to people. That I love you, that thanks for raising me, thanks for everything in the world.
The U.S. command today offered one more reason to attack soon, reports of new atrocities against Kuwaiti civilians.
There seems to be a systematic campaign of execution, particularly people that they may have tortured previously, that they're sort of destroying the evidence, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Iraq's use of terror tactics, demonstrated by the giant oil slick still polluting the Gulf, expanded to include 200 oil field fires which block out much of the sky over Kuwait. And intelligence sources report ominous roundups of adult men in Kuwait. Iraqi troops continued to surrender in large numbers. The Allies now hold 2,000, raising hopes the land assault will not bring heavy casualties. Just off Kuwait City's heavily guarded coast, Marine Harriers, vertical takeoff jets, flew bombing runs today to knock out artillery and anti-aircraft guns, which could interfere with an amphibious assault by Marines still at sea. Senior commanders are confident.
His army is hurting now because of the air campaign, and there is no question about the difference in quality between U.S. Marines and Iraqi soldiers.
In another sign the land battle is not far away, U.S. attack planes flew 1,200 missions against Iraqi positions in Kuwait, a record for any day of the war. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Saudi Arabia.
The battle plan is still officially secret, but it's been described to us as very fast-moving, complicated, and high risk. Bob?
Dan, is there any indication there of how long the commanders think this will take once it starts?
No, they're hoping that it will be a quick strike for a quick win. But I can't emphasize too much that this is a bold plan that General Schwarzkopf and his crew have mapped out, a very high-risk plan. For example, elements of the 101st Airborne and the 82nd Airborne are to take part in something called vertical envelopment, which means they'll be sent far forward, sort of behind lines, if you will, to stake out some territory with the hope that the 7th Corps and the 18th Corps of the U.S. Army can reach them quickly. So it's that kind of bold, high-risk maneuver that General Schwarzkopf is planning on. He hopes it won't take long. You don't hear them speak in terms of 2 days or 10 days. All you hear is that it's a quick strike designed for quick victory, but it does entail high risk.
Now, what do they think the state of the Iraqi army is now?
They think that it may just sort of be crushed like a beer can at 5,000 feet in the ocean or something. They keep thinking that it's right on the verge of cracking, which I think Bob explains why General Schwarzkopf, among other reasons, has been so conservative thus far. That what the American commanders and their allies appear to be trying to do is force as many Iraqi surrenders and perhaps disorderly retreats before having to launch their offensive, because they think that, as one of them put it, they're on their knees. Before we go to the offensive, crash in there, we'd like to have them flat on their backs.
Dan Rather, I'm sure we'll be hearing from you later in the evening, Dan. Thank you. We'll be back with more on the war in just a moment.
Ziploc presents Fingerman.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate a brand new invention.
Introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc. Now the easiest closing bag there is. In fact, you can close it even if you're all thumbs.
How you doing?
Yes, the zipper is grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time.
Yeah.
Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper. The easiest closing bag there is.
Now that was a snap.
Just flakes, huh? A little old-fashioned, don't you think? It's too simple. I mean, I know you're going for that good old days thing, but all this makes me think of is the Depression. Now wait a minute. This doesn't taste old-fashioned. It's good. I like this simple. I like it a lot.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Taste them again for the first time.
It begins at dawn. They've come for you. And they want what you have. It's your bed, your Serta Perfect Sleeper. But it's the most comfortable spot in the house. The Serta surface and support only Serta builds in makes it that way. So if it gets a little late for breakfast, there's always brunch. Is it any wonder people are saying, I want my Serta?
I'm Charles Carroll. The water's running out in California. Time for drastic measures? Join us this Sunday morning.
To give us a better understanding of this desert warfare and just what it entails, joining us our military consultant, retired Marine General George Crist. General Crist, first give us a brief overview of the battle area.
Bob, these red lines that you see on the map represent 170 miles of Iraqi fortifications and trenches, some 30 miles deep. Now, each one of these red lines looks very, very much like the model that we have here in front of us.
So let's talk about that. This sand piled up, what we've come to know as the berms, these are the Iraqi tanks behind it. Then what's in front?
Well, right here, of course, are the final protection. In fact, they live in bunkers inside these sand berms. In front, protecting them are extensive minefields with wire. Beyond that, an anti-tank ditch to keep the tanks from getting down to them. And beyond that, another large sand pile, or berm as we call it, which is designed, again, to keep the infantry and the tanks from being able to come straight in.
Now, to give us an even better picture of this, we have some rare film taken during the Iran-Iraq War.
Bob, these are pictures shot during the Iran-Iraq War, and we're looking at an Iraqi tank from the Iranian side. That tank is out in the open, much the same as we're going to see their tanks out. Now, he's coming under fire. You see the artillery fire. Here goes an RPG shooting at him, and he's going to try to hide. And he's going behind one of those sand berms that we're talking about that they, too, will use to protect their tank from our fire. And now he's completely hidden, as you can see. We can't get a shot at him.
Now, General, you talked about sometimes the Iraqi soldiers actually live in these berms. We have some photos of that now. Let's look at that.
Hey, Bob, here very clearly in the background, you can see the big sand berm, and built into them are these bunkers. You notice they're sandbagged, built right in the side. This is an observation post that they built on top of, right on top of the berm. It's been, of course, hit and blown away. Here you get another good picture of how they build in sandbags on the front so that the artillery fire won't get them when they're in there. Here's one that unfortunately took a direct hit. The occupant seems to have not survived the direct hit. That's unfortunate if you're inside the bunker. Here's a little bit better one, and that shows a really good picture. See, again, the sandbags build up, corrugated tin on the top, sand at the top of it, so there's no way that you can get hit on that thing unless you get a direct hit.
General, you lived through some artillery attacks, I understand, in Korea and bunkers just like that. What was that like?
Well, my bunker is stronger than the one you saw, Bob, and I was scared as hell.
This whole idea of trench warfare is not a very pleasant way to spend the day. We have some more tape of the Iran-Iraq War.
Now here you see on top of one of those berms an anti-tank rifle firing, and right down below it is the trench, and you can see these men are in their gas masks and protective equipment, much the same, I think, as the Iraqi troops would be if they use it on us. Now you see the inside of the trench itself. It's dirty, it's filthy. The men, you can see, they're dirty, probably have lice, junk sitting on the bottom of the trenches, as it always is, everything you throw away. Not a pleasant way to spend your day. Now, here's the incoming sort of artillery in on those trenches, what you hear, and here's the forward observers now that are calling the fire back out against them. Again, your average time in the trench. Now, here's the trench after battle, and it does look like it. The rifle, the gas mask, the dead body, the kind of thing you always see after a good, solid engagement in a trench.
Marine General George Crist, our consultant. Thank you, General.
check.
There's a place in the friendly skies where not everyone is so friendly.
Stop. Hold it.
I need 3 hours minimum.
Check it out.
Over 9,000 mechanics of United Airlines work here.
Give me a mini grinder.
They're picky, fussy, stubborn. But if you fly, they're the best friends you'll ever have. United, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly skies.
What a feeling, feeling fresh.
Introducing Fix-It-Ant Fresh with a crisp, clean feeling and a stronger hold than any other cream adhesive. A fresh new feeling and stronger hold are 2 new reasons to Fix-It-Ant and forget it.
This itchy rash needs special treatment. Maximum Strength Cortisone 5, with the medicine doctors recommend most, gets under the itch for soothing relief and help in healing. See? The rash is gone. Use Cortisone 5 with the medicine doctors recommend most.
Red Lobster introduces something new, something delicious. It's our specially priced new Shrimp Sensations dinner, just $7.99. With the tang of succulent new shrimp Veracruz and the flair of zesty new Parmesan fried shrimp, together with popcorn shrimp. All this just $7.99 for a limited time, but only at Red Lobster. So hurry.
Red Lobster for the seafood lover in you.
There was a military coup in Thailand today, but apparently not a shot was fired. Soldiers led by the Armed Forces Chief deposed Prime Minister Chachi and seized government broadcast stations. The military says there will be no change in Thailand's pro-Western policy. The war in the Gulf is now heading into a 39th day and possibly a new phase, and tonight Bruce Morton, our correspondent, has some thoughts on the Soviet attempt to bring the war to an end.
Mikhail Gorbachev has tried very hard this week to be a peacemaker. It's easy to understand why. First, Gorbachev needs his military, his generals, to help him stay in power more than he used to. And those generals, like Iraq, it's been a client state. Its military used Soviet equipment, trained on Soviet tactics. If it gets blown away in the desert, what does that say about all that Soviet military wisdom? Second, the right wing, the military, the KGB, doesn't think the Cold War is over. And it views with alarm the idea of a massive, possibly permanent American military presence in the Gulf, just 100 miles or so from the Soviet border. Besides that, the more Gorbachev can be seen as negotiator now, the more he can claim a role later on at whatever international conference is finally convened to discuss the whole range of Middle Eastern issues, Israel, Palestinian rights, and so on. For generations, Soviet leaders have wanted to be major players in the Middle East. And if that weren't enough, things are so awful at home. Liberal Boris Yeltsin tells him to resign. Right-wing colonels in a group called Soyuz tell him to resign. Bits of the empire keep wanting to secede, not just the Baltics, but Georgia, Moldavia, and on and on and on. And the economy is a mess. Lots of ordinary Soviets see Gorbachev nowadays as a loser. He's about as popular there as Michael Dukakis was here on Election Day 1988. So, of course, he wants to be a peacemaker. Peacemakers are winners, and these days, Gorbachev needs any kind of win that he can get. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
And we'll be back with more news in just a moment.
Today, there's a diet pill that can help you lose weight without caffeine to make you nervous.
All my life I've been struggling with my weight. With Dexatrim, I finally lost weight and without being hungry.
No matter what else you've tried, Dexatrim can help you lose weight. Just one works all day, morning through bedtime, to control your appetite and help you lose weight.
Dexatrim did it for me. I lost weight and feel great.
Today's caffeine-free Dexatrim. Nothing works harder to help you lose weight. Nothing.
Just wait, Jess. 10 years, and we'll have a real house with a real yard, where I can sit in the shade and you can run your little tail off. We'll get there, Jess. That's a promise.
Alpo. All the meat dogs love, fortified with all the vitamins and minerals they need to eat well and be well into the future.
It's gonna be gorgeous, Jessie. You'll see.
Ziploc presents Fingerman.
Hi, I'm here to demonstrate a big new idea. That's right, introducing the new Gripper Zipper from Ziploc. Now the easiest closing bag there is. In fact, I can even close it, whoa, blindfolded. I know it's closing because I can feel the zipper grabbing hold. It's locking. Feel it close the first time, every time. And you don't have to see it to believe it. Ooh. Ziploc bags with the new Gripper Zipper, the easiest closing bag there is.
No new word today on the 4 CBS newsmen detained in Baghdad. Bob Simon, Peter Bluff, Roberto Alvarez, and Juan Caldera fell into Iraqi hands last month near the Saudi-Kuwaiti border. Finally tonight, the story of one group of Americans giving more than their share to the Gulf War effort, just as they have in previous wars. Jerry Bowen now has the story.
They danced on the Gila River Indian Reservation outside Phoenix today. Navajo warriors from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam honoring their own, honoring Native Americans now fighting in the Gulf.
The warriors are warriors, you know, Indians, you're born and you are supposed to protect your land.
These are familiar scenes these days, different tribes in different parts of America mobilizing to support their sons and daughters through prayer and traditional dances.
We do the ceremonies, the prayers, to give them strength over there.
The military service record of Native Americans is extraordinary, the highest of any ethnic group, and a third higher than the general population. And it's been a distinguished tradition. In World War II, Navajo recruits served as code talkers. Their native language was used for crucial battlefield communication because the Japanese could not decipher it. On the reservations today, military service is still taken seriously, out of respect.
There is respect and there's a lot of honor being a warrior. So today we serve in the military to achieve that.
And out of necessity.
There are no jobs when you have reservations with 80% unemployment. What can you do?
The support for the military is not unanimous. Critics say Native Americans are being victimized again. Floyd Red Crow, activist and actor, most recently in Dances with Wolves.
When America calls Indians to help, and then you see what they do in taking away our culture and our land, I think something is very wrong.
And already American Indians have sacrificed in Operation Desert Storm. 2 of the war's dead have been Native American. But America's Indian tribes are demonstrating their support, as they did even through the tortured Vietnam years, as they will when their sons and daughters come home from the Gulf.
This country can forget about the yellow ribbons after, but we know what we went through. Don't let our boys down.
So again today, in the land of mesas and red rock canyons, old men danced to honor the new warriors. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Recapping today's war developments, we have some late pictures of those oil fires that are burning out of control all over Kuwait. We're told these are along the southern border. Some 190 oil wells have been set afire by Saddam Hussein's people over the last 2 days. Those are the newest pictures that we have. Other developments today, President Bush's noon deadline for Iraqi troops to start leaving Kuwait came and went. Iraq said it would ignore the ultimatum. So far, no sign an Allied ground offensive has begun. But officials say the president has already given U.S. commanders the orders they need to carry out such an attack. So stay with us now for continuing coverage of the war. Coming up, Dan Rather in Saudi Arabia will anchor a special 1-hour broadcast with all the latest developments. That's tonight at 8/7 Central Time. Till then, I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News, New York. Good night.
Billy Owens ignites 5th-ranked Syracuse against Big East foe Pittsburgh. Then Louisville takes on Georgia Tech in the hot hands of Kenny Anderson. Sunday.
This is CBS.